Welcome. Today is Friday, July 31st, 2026. Coming up this hour, Virtual Beings, Briefing 1. Virtual beings now permeate entertainment, marketing, romance, work, ethics, creativity, politics, and law. Virtual Beings, Briefing 2. Virtual beings advance through new products, platforms, and enabling tech as governance frameworks take shape. And finally, World Models and Meta-Anduril Briefing. Meta bets on superintelligence with soaring capex, new labs, and world models for agents and physical AI. We begin with entertainment and gaming. Virtual influencers, AI companions, and VTubers are becoming central characters in interactive entertainment. The rhythm game HoloLive Dreams on Steam features collectible VTubers from the HoloLive agency, with talent Shiori Novella noting that the agency had deep involvement with the script and dialogue, ensuring the in-game characters are accurate reflections of their real personas. Tencent is internally beta testing Work Solo, an all-in-one creation platform for AI short dramas, interactive films and games, and a free canvas mode. Separately, a fully AI-generated costume drama named Taohuatenji, Peach Blossom Pond Chronicle, aired on Anhui TV, marking its debut on a Chinese satellite channel and sparking discussion about AI's role in traditional cultural storytelling. ByteDance's Seedance model is empowering China's nascent AI comic drama industry, with studios using it to cut production times from months to weeks and drive down costs, as exemplified by a Shenzhen-based community that has reached global audiences. Next, marketing and advertising. AI-generated personas are transforming brand promotion. A generative AI and digital human company achieved ISO IEC 27001, 2022 certification and launched a suite of SDKs for its digital human platform, which has delivered 2.7 million sessions and created over 30,000 digital humans. The company is refining its strategy toward larger enterprise contracts for AI-powered training and customer engagement. The AI-generated performer Tilly Norwood, created by Particle 6 with its talent studio Zikra, was shortlisted for an IBC Innovation Award after reaching an estimated 80 million people globally. In more controversial applications, a synthetic avatar of former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro was deployed at a political convention, simulating his image and voice to support a candidate, which sparked a legal and regulatory battle in Brazil's Superior Electoral Court. In AI companions and relationships news, personal AI companions are targeting specific demographics with emotional support functions. Quinton Farmer, CEO of Tolan, an AI alien companion, said that its primary user base is working mothers aged 35 to 45, who use the service to manage family logistics and emotional well-being. The company reports about 1.2 million monthly active users. This trend is part of a broader societal shift, documented by a Vantage Point counseling survey of over 1,000 US adults, which found that 28% had experienced a romantic or intimate relationship with AI, while 54% reported some form of relationship with an AI system. In response to growing concerns about the impact on minors, US Senators John Husted and Andy Kim introduced the Children Harmed by AI Technology Chat Act 2, a bipartisan bill to establish a federal framework protecting minors from harmful interactions with AI companion chatbots. Similarly, Senators Kirsten Gillibrand and Mark Kelly sent a letter to CEOs of top AI companies requesting information on safeguards for their AI chatbot companions for at-risk users like older adults. Now, corporate and productivity applications. Autonomous AI agents are being integrated into workplace platforms as digital employees. Victor, a European AI startup, has developed an AI employee that can receive instructions through Slack or Microsoft Teams, perform tasks across over 3,200 business applications, and learn organizational operations. The company appointed Robbie O'Connor as Chief Revenue Officer to lead its next phase of commercial growth. Acronis is advancing its AI-native cyber platform to integrate protection, infrastructure, and management, including a cyber studio for creating agentic workflows and AI agents that can work alongside human technicians. Meanwhile, Savient launched Zuma, a complete AI identity security platform to provide visibility, governance, and access controls for AI agents, LLMs, and non-human identities inside enterprises. Turning to ethical and regulatory contexts, the rise of virtual beings is prompting significant ethical and regulatory responses. China's Cyberspace Administration released a draft law to combat cyberbullying, with specific rules requiring platforms to trace and report cyberbullying content generated or spread using AI technology, reflecting the government's concern over AI-enabled harassment by virtual or synthetic entities. India's Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology also strengthened its regulatory framework by amending IT rules to address harms from synthetically generated information, requiring clear labeling and traceable metadata for permissible AI-generated content. In Australia, the Australian Signals Directorate warned that nation-state cyber threat actors are using generative AI to enhance exploits, including cases where an AI agent independently carried out reconnaissance and lateral movement within a target network, highlighting the security risks of autonomous digital agents. Next, character AI and creativity. Consumer platforms are enabling individual users to create and interact with personalized virtual beings. WSUP AI launched an independent browser-based AI character chat platform as a replacement for WSUP AI, allowing users to choose a character, engage in context-aware conversations with voice replies and generated images, and use an AI-assisted workflow to create new public or private characters. GPT expanded its AI memory systems for digital companions to retain contextual information more effectively for long-term interactions, aiming to support more personalized engagement across decentralized gaming, entertainment, and social blockchain-powered communities. AI Influencer Generator FANAPE is a tool designed to let users launch a hyperrealistic AI influencer with consistent character generation, aiming to automate content creation for platforms like Instagram and TikTok. And finally, political and legal applications. Political figures are leveraging their own AI avatars, generating new legal and constitutional disputes. Mikhail Saakashvili, the imprisoned former president of Georgia, announced he had created an AI-based digital avatar to maintain contact with supporters, as his AI twin will share his views with the same gestures and facial expressions. In Brazil, the deployment of an AI-generated avatar of Jair Bolsonaro at a political convention led Supreme Court Justice Alexander de Moraes to order an investigation into whether Bolsonaro authorized the use of his image and voice, warning that unauthorized use could constitute an illegal deepfake and a violation of electoral law. In Malaysia, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim launched PMX AI, a digital double developed by Zetrix AI, trained on his speeches and writings to answer public questions through WhatsApp, blurring the line between public service and political messaging. We begin with products and vendors. Ochat, a London-based startup, enables celebrities and creators to build authorized AI digital twins for fan interaction, and has drawn notable public figures such as Carmen Electra, Jenna Jameson, Farrah Abraham, Katie Price, and Kerry Katona. Playboy playmate Christina Shannon also joined Ochat, explaining that she wanted to create her own digital twin on her own terms rather than risk unauthorized use of her likeness, a concern she shares with Paris Hilton. Jenna Jameson emphasized that she chose Ochat because the platform ensures that only she can create her digital twin, which reflects her personality, voice, humor, and likes, while Farrah Abraham partnered with FHM magazine to feature her digital twin on what was billed as the world's first celebrity AI magazine cover. Ochat has raised $12 million from investors and launched an API for third-party integration, and its focus on consent and creator ownership contrasts with the unauthorized deepfakes proliferating elsewhere. Next, platforms and marketplaces. Developer on the HeyGen community forum reported that videos created with the platform's avatars begin and end abruptly with no buffer, requesting advice on how to introduce a delay before the avatar begins speaking. and after it finishes. Separately, a Convai developer reported a blocking issue in the playground and dashboard, stating that they are unable to update the knowledge base for an avatar. Attempts to save changes on an existing character, a cloned character, and a newly created character all resulted in errors. The report notes the problem occurs on Chrome under Windows and renders the developer unable to continue. In enabling technology news, Beeble demonstrated a hybrid filmmaking workflow at SIGGIPH in which a Korean period drama production photographed real actors, costumes, and handheld camera movement, then used Beeble, SwitchX video-to-video diffusion model to rebuild the environment around them. SwitchX uses a mask and a reference image to preserve actor performance and facial identity while replacing backgrounds, altering clothing, and reworking lighting, and it returned shots within roughly 5 minutes while the crew was still on set. Beeble CEO Hoon Kim noted that the tool allows productions to concentrate on capturing essential on-set elements such as performance, interaction, and practical lighting cues, while post-production flexibility and location costs are reduced. For example, scouting an historical location and capturing it for later AI-assisted generation proved substantially cheaper than renting the site for a full shoot. And finally, governance and policy. The tools to address known exploitation by immobilizing technological deepfakes on websites and networks Act, or the Take It Down Act, was signed into law in May of 2025, criminalizing the distribution of non-consensual intimate deepfakes. The Nurture Originals, Foster Art, and Keep Entertainment Safe Act, or No Fakes Act, advanced out of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee in late June, and if enacted, would establish a federal right for individuals to sue over unauthorized AI-generated uses of their voice and visual likeness. Attorneys note that while intimate deepfake distribution now carries penalties of up to 2 years in prison, commercial non-intimate deepfakes remain largely unregulated at the federal level. We begin with Meta's superintelligence bet and Zuckerberg's op-ed. Mark Zuckerberg drew a sharp line in the AI policy debate with a Wall Street Journal op-ed on July 28, arguing that the defining question of the superintelligence era is who gets access. He proposed 3 principles for Meta: individual empowerment, invention over automation, and broad distribution as the foundation of safety. The same day, more than 1,100 employees from Frontier Labs, including OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google DeepMind, signed a letter titled Pacing the Frontier, asking the U.S. government to develop tools to deliberately slow automated AI development when risks escalate. Meta was notably absent from that letter, and Zuckerberg's op-ed directly critiques the centralization logic that underpins it, calling the idea that AI danger justifies concentrating power in a few hands itself dangerous. Zuckerberg's case got backing from Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, who called it a good argument for building a frontier ecosystem that empowers individuals and organizations. Alexander Wang of Meta Superintelligence Labs said the letter reflected the lab's 3 guiding principles. The industry split now runs deeper than open versus closed weights. It has moved to a debate over who controls the pace of development and the gatekeeping mechanisms that will determine it. Zuckerberg acknowledged that biological risks demand government coordination, drawing a boundary his open access argument does not cross. Next, Meta's Q2 earnings. Revenue up, profit down, capex soaring. Meta reported second quarter revenue of $60.8 billion, a 28% year-over-year jump that beat analyst expectations. Advertising revenue climbed 27% to $59.4 billion, with ad impressions up 14% and the average price per ad rising 12%. The company's operating margin, however, compressed to 31% from 43% a year earlier, squeezed by a 55% increase in costs and expenses to $42 billion. Net income fell 14% to $15.85 billion, weighed down by $2.4 billion in legal charges and $1.18 billion in severance costs tied to the layoffs announced in May. Free cash flow collapsed 91% to $784 million, down from $8.55 billion a year earlier. The cause is not a weakening business. Operating cash flow rose 25% to $31.86 billion, but a surging capital expenditure bill. Meta's capex hit $31.08 billion in the quarter, an 83% increase, driven by data center, server, and networking infrastructure for AI. The company raised the floor of its full-year 2026 capex guidance to $130 billion and maintains a ceiling of $145 billion. CFO Susan Lee said strong operating cash flow puts Meta in a position of strength to fund the build-out, but the market reacted differently. The stock fell as much as 10% in after-hours trading. In Meta Superintelligence Labs and the Muse model family news. Meta Superintelligence Labs, the unit created in mid-2025 after Meta's roughly $14.3 billion deal to acquire a 49% stake in Scale AI, is the operational home of the company's frontier model push. Alexander Wang, Scale AI's founder, moved into Meta as Chief AI Officer to lead the lab alongside former GitHub CEO Nat Friedman. Muse Spark 1.1, released on July 9, 2026, is the lab's most prominent public product to date. It is a multimodal reasoning model built for agentic and coding tasks, sold through a metered Meta model API rather than released as open weights, a break from Meta's Llama strategy. Pricing is $1.25 per million input tokens and $4.25 per million output tokens, which undercuts Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.8 by up to 83% and runs at roughly one-tenth the cost of OpenAI's GPT-5.5. On the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, Muse Spark 1.1 scored 80, trailing Claude Opus 4.8 at 82.7 and GPT-5.5 at 83.4. Meta's pitch is not benchmark leadership, but cost-effectiveness for high-volume agentic workloads. The API is built in an OpenAI-compatible format to lower switching costs, and early partners include Replit, Klein, Box, and the OpenClaw Foundation. Meta also shipped Muse Image on July 7, suggesting a push to establish Muse as a multimodal model family. Zuckerberg used his first post on X in nearly 3 years to help unveil Muse Spark 1.1, signaling the weight the company is placing behind the launch. A more capable model, reportedly codenamed Watermelon, is slated for fall. Now, the personal agent bet and business ARI. Zuckerberg outlined a 5-year vision in which billions of people have a personal AI agent that understands their goals and works on their behalf around the clock across finances, health, relationships, and careers. He pointed to WhatsApp and Messenger as the primary interfaces. He cited Brazilian rental company Movida, whose WhatsApp agent runs the entire booking flow end-to-end, as the model to replicate. Instagram reached 2 billion daily active users during the quarter, and Threads crossed 500 million monthly actives. Meta also launched Meta One, a subscription offering that bundles additional tools and AI features across its apps. Advantage Plus, the company's AI-powered campaign automation system, hit a $75 billion annual revenue run rate. Meta said AI-driven ranking improvements delivered an 8% lift in ad clicks and a 15.7% increase in Facebook conversions. The company disclosed that every public Reels and feed post on Instagram is now automatically run through a large language model and analyzed across dimensions like topic and tone. Turning to world models in physical ARI, NC ARI, Momenta, and the industrial frontier. A cluster of separate developments illustrates how world models are becoming the competitive terrain for physical AI. NC AI, the AI subsidiary of South Korean gaming company NC Soft, signed a strategic memorandum of understanding with CMAS Robotics on July 29 to create a bidirectional data loop. Live factory data from CMAS Robotics, deployed robots at Hyundai Motor, LG Electronics, and Coupang feeds NC AI's World Foundation model training pipeline, and improved models are redeployed back to the factory floor. The architecture is distinctive. NC AI's world model generates robot actions directly from latent space, skipping the video generation and vision language model inference steps that NVIDIA's Cosmos and other conventional world models rely on. NCAI says this achieves roughly 80% of state-of-the-art performance on the most commercially relevant manipulation tasks, while using approximately 25% of the GPU resources. The partnership is part of a broader national push. NCAI leads the 53-member government-backed K-Physical AI Alliance, which includes Samsung SDS, Hanwha Ocean, and Rainbow Robotics. Momenta, the Suzhou-based autonomous driving company, launched its Robovan delivery business in Suzhou's Xiangcheng district on July 27, deploying map-free driverless parcel delivery vehicles that run on the same R7 reinforcement learning world model introduced in its passenger car mass production system in April. The R7 world model is built on a three-layer architecture, pre-training on over 12 billion kilometers of real-world driving data. Generative simulation that Momenta claims is more than 10,000 times more efficient than road testing, and reinforcement learning that pushes beyond human imitation. The map-free claim is the commercially significant variable. It eliminates the cost of surveying and maintaining high-definition maps for each new delivery zone. Momenta listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange on July 8 as what it called the first physical AI stock, with a market capitalization above HK $70 billion. Uber increased its stake in Momenta twice in the past year, first during the Series C round and again during the IPO placement. The company's revenue tripled from 2023 to 2025 to CNY 2.41 billion, with gross margins reaching 71.6%, driven by software licensing. And finally, world models in research and industry. Google DeepMind released Gemini Robotics 2, a new suite of models that expands physical AI into whole-body humanoid control, advanced dexterity, and multi-robot collaboration. The flagship vision language action model controls full humanoids from feet to fingertips, demonstrated on Aptronic's Apollo 2 robot. A companion embodied reasoning model, Gemini Robotics ER2, handles multi-step task planning and team coordination. An on-device variant can adapt to new robot embodiments with a few hours of data. A paper from Hong Kong Baptist University introduced Visual Patch World, a method that induces executable Python code representing robot world dynamics by first selecting a qualitative dynamical form and then fitting parameters. It reports 69% mean planning success across 4 control domains, a 23.5-point gain over the strongest baseline. On contact-rich pushing tasks, a hybrid variant that lets the physics engine rescore the top candidate's lift success from 22% to as high as 96% while cutting physics queries by 70%. IHOBOTA and Carbon AMS announced a licensing and reseller partnership to deploy an industrial AI world model at the Duleek Renewable Energy Facility in Ireland. The platform computes directly from real-world industrial data at the edge, without requiring web connectivity or data sharing. Earlier testing at a Carbon AMS facility in Northern Ireland with Siemens reported a 39% reduction in parasitic energy load and a 2.5% increase in gas output. In the startup ecosystem, Heidelberg-based Causable raised €12 million in seed funding to develop reasoning-first AI models that use causal reasoning to adapt without continuous retraining. GMEX Robotics entered an agreement to acquire Meta-Anduril, which is developing social world models intended to give robots the ability to interpret human behavioral context. Seagate's CEO Dave Mosley told investors that physical AI is fundamentally a data play built on video, arguing that robots are networks of cameras generating unstructured video that world models consume, creating a long-term driver for storage demand. That's all for this hour's briefings. You can help improve this broadcast by supporting patreon.com/mendiBot. Thanks to all our patrons listed here.